As a professor of communication, board member Thomas Tate brings a unique and valuable experience and expertise. I'll start over. She brings a unique and valuable perspective with expertise in language, literacy development, and related disorders. Her work with UGMA, which serves underserved children and focuses on closing literacy gaps, directly aligns with priorities that SPS is deeply committed to addressing. In addition, as the longest-serving member of the board, she brings institutional knowledge and continuity in leadership. This combination of experience, professional expertise, and community engagement makes her well-suited to serve as vice president and to help guide the district's efforts in supporting all students.
Other comments?
Comment.
Dr. Thomas Tate?
I want to begin by expressing my appreciation for the leadership that has guided this board over the last several years. Serving in roles such as president and vice president does require significant time, commitment, and care for this district, and I recognize the work. I'm expressing my interest in serving as vice president, not as a critique of the leadership, but as part of what I believe is a natural and necessary evolution of a strong governance team. As the board member here with the longest tenure on this board, I bring a level of institutional knowledge that I believe is important at this moment. I've had the opportunity to see our work across multiple cycles, multiple superintendents, our strategic priorities, our challenges, and our growth. This perspective allows me to contribute not only to where we are going, but how we sustain and build on what we have already done. I also just want to address that I do believe that the role of the president does come with a learning curve. And so I am looking forward to hopefully being able to serve in that role. I think it's important that there is shared leadership among our board. Best practices in governance emphasizes the need to build leadership capacity across the entire board. When leadership roles are held by the same individuals for extended periods, especially across term cycles, we risk, where did I lost my place? Term cycles, we risk limiting that growth and concentrating responsibility in ways that are not sustainable or long-term. Rotating leadership is not about change for the sake of change. It's about strengthening this board, developing future leaders, and ensuring that multiple perspectives are represented in how we guide this district. At this point, the leadership has remained consistent for several years, and I believe that it's time and appropriate to create space for new leadership, especially for myself, having served on this board for the longest amount of time. Ultimately, my interest comes from place of service to this board, to this district, and to the community, and I thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Other comments? Okay. Since there is more than one nomination for vice president, we will conduct a roll call vote beginning with the first nomination, Dr. Thomas Tate. If there's a majority, there will be no further vote. Otherwise, the voting will continue until a majority is taken.
The first nomination was Board
Yes.
Member Huff.
Oh, no,
Yes,
it was?
yes. Board Member Huff was.
Oh, she was? I didn't hear that. Okay. Thank you for the correction. So we will begin with Board Member Huff. As we go with the roll call vote, just say the last name of the person that you are voting for.
Huff.
Thomas Tate.
Huff, excuse me.
And chair votes Huff. The board votes to support Board Member Sarah Huff for Vice President. Next, the board will vote on the appointment of a treasurer and a secretary. The recommended action item is that the board appoint Dr. Travis Shaw as treasurer, through June 30th, 2026, and Dr. Doug Van Zyl as treasurer effective July 1st, 2026. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Board Member Kincaid. Comments? Let's vote.
Aye.
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 Chair votes aye. 7 votes. The board votes to support Deputy Superintendent of Operations Travis Shaw for treasurer until June 30th, 2026, after which the appointment will shift to Dr. Doug Van Zyl effective July 1, 2026. Our next recommended action is that the board appoint Tammy Nepa as secretary. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Board Member Huff. Let's vote. Comments? Let's vote.
Aye.
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 Chair votes aye. 7 affirmative. So the board votes to support Tammy Nepa for secretary. Our final recommended action is that the board adjourn this part of the meeting. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Comments? Board Member Provance? Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. That's 7. So this part of the meeting is adjourned, and if you're a guest here at this meeting, you may decide to leave, and that's fine. But thank you all for joining us. We do appreciate it. We're going to do a little shuffling up here and take a photo op, and then we'll get into our regular Board of Education meeting. So thank you. Thank you.
Awesome, awesome. Hold it. 1, 2, 3, hold it. Awesome.
There you go.
doing okay?
Yeah, congrats, Judy.
Out of here.
Are you out of here too?
I would like to call this study session to order. The time is 5:50 p.m. Ms. Neppa, please let the record show that all board members are present. If you would all please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our next agenda item is the approval of the agenda. Our recommended action is that the board approve the agenda as presented. Do I have a motion? Dr. Thomas Tate moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Board Member Kincaid, second. Comments, questions? Let's vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes with 7. We've now come to the portion of our meeting where we hear from speakers. Please listen as I read the following statement on the public comment policy. The Board of Education welcomes comments about the issues being discussed. The board uses this time in our meeting to listen to the public, but will not comment or engage with the public during this meeting. The board allows for up to 10 speakers per public comment period. The board chair will call on individuals in the order in which they signed up. Substitutions are not permitted. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes and will be timed by the board secretary. Comments must be acceptable for a business and family-friendly environment. Inappropriate language, gestures, or personal attacks will not be tolerated. It is inappropriate to address the board about individual students or individual staff members by name in open meetings. If you have concerns about individuals, these concerns should be addressed through the appropriate administrative supervisors, either in the schools or in the district office. If you have materials that you would like to share, please place them in the tray on the podium and they will be distributed to board members following the meeting. Also, please note there will be a timer on each screen to help you know when your time is almost up. Our speaker tonight is Mr. Carl Hurd.
Good evening, Dr. Lathan and school board members. On the last school board meeting, you, the board, voted to spend $657,240 for a facilities master plan. What will be the benefits of that plan? It is easier to describe what the plan does not do. No blueprints, windows, doors, or one brick will be realized. The results could be to suggest the next school to build new or renovate. That is a very high price to pay for a small benefit. Boundary changes could be done in-house. Consider this. The last two bonds built new or renovated a number of buildings. Employees are in the buildings every day and know better than a study group any improvements that are needed. The decision is which building should be next. The district pays millions of dollars to administrators who are capable of recommending the next building for improvement. Use their expertise. The district could have had free copiers for a year with the money being spent on the facilities master plan. Spending $657,240 on this facility master plan is a huge mistake on you, the school board, especially with the limited dollars in the 26-27 budget. All school employees are evaluated for their job performance. There is a dire need to evaluate this school board. The ballot box is way too slow and takes 3 years for the entire board. You as a board member could do a self-evaluation. Ask yourself these questions. Are you spending tax dollars wisely? Number 2, is each board member an independent thinker, or do you just rubber stamp every proposal? 3, are buildings receiving too much emphasis? Buildings do not teach. 4, is enrollment going down with respect to classroom seats needed? 5, has the construction of new buildings caused improvement in student proficiency? So do this for 24,000 students. Oh, by the way, did I mention you could have had free copiers for a year? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Hurd. Our next item is 4.01. Executive Director of Business Services, Ms. Kara Stasel, will be joining us this evening to discuss the 2026-27 budget process.
Back again, here we are. All right, so good evening. Tonight we're presenting a deep dive into 4 of the major components of our budget development: the debt service, the bond, the capital, and the health benefit trust funds. Understanding the requirements and the health of each of these funds is vital as we develop the budget for the next year. Having a clicker that works is also vital to presenting a presentation. Hey, okay. All right, so to provide context, the district manages 6 different funds. We have the 5 separate primary funds and then the 1 fiduciary fund. The 4 funds that we're focusing on tonight make up 36% of our total budget. These funds are unique and distinct, and they have separate purposes. They cannot be used to support everyday district operations. So they cannot be used to support salary and benefits, or those types of things that would come out of our daily operations. They have unique purposes. So we'll discuss those in a moment. So a district's fund makeup is not arbitrary. We follow the fund guidance as set forth in Missouri statute and set forth by the Missouri Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, or DESE. So the fund structure is provided here. You can see that there are the 4 primary funds that get reported up to DESE at the end of the year. We have sub-funds within some of those funds. So for example, the bond fund is a sub-fund of the capital projects fund. We track the bond fund expenditures separately from our regular capital for financial reporting and transparency. We also have that fiduciary self-insured fund, this Fund 72, the HBT, which is audited but not reported up to DESE at the end of the year. So we'll start with our debt service fund, or Fund 30. The purpose of this fund is to account for all of the transactions related to the revenue and the repayment of voter-approved debt. So this flow chart visually represents the relationship between the debt service fund and the bond fund. So when voters go and approve the bonds, they're also approving some sort of debt levy at that time, whether that's to keep the debt levy the same or to increase it. Those bonds are then sold to investors, and those proceeds from the sale of the bond are deposited into the bond fund as revenue. Those funds are then used to pay for the construction or the purchase of land or things around the bond fund projects. At the same time, the debt levy is generating revenue based on that assessed valuation, and we use that revenue to repay the loan from the bonds. So that is paid, the loan is repaid out of the debt service fund. So the source of funds for the debt service fund include that levy distribution. The district's current levy distribution is 73 cents per $100 of assessed valuation. The revenue also includes any fund balance carryover from the prior year and any interest earned on the funds. The use of the funds are simple. They are the repayment of that voter-approved debt. So that includes the principal, interest, and fees, and that general obligation debt schedule that includes the principal, interest, and fees is posted each year in our budget document. Provided for you here in that table is a snapshot of the general budget summary for the debt service fund, or Fund 30. We have the current year budget for 25-26, and then the projected budget for next year, 26-27, and then a column that calculates the difference between both of the years. Again, next year is a reassessment year, so not anticipating a large amount of new revenue in this fund. The fund balance historically drops during those years and then picks back up during the reassessment years. Down at the bottom, we have long-range debt projections, so going out until 2029, just showing our estimated principal and interest and fees for our debt service fund. The next slide provides a couple of different summary schedules. So the first one, you can see that over the next 10 years, the amount of debt principal to be paid off or retired is a little less than $238 million. Also, the debt service fund supports the repayment of 7 different bond series. So those series are listed in that summary schedule by series. And with each bond series that we issue, we have an amortization schedule or a repayment schedule. And that repayment schedule is vital to calculating the budget that we'll need each year for the repayment of that principal, interest, and fees. So that is how we set the budget in the debt service fund each year. So moving on to the bond fund. So again, the bond fund is a sub-fund of Fund 40, and we capture all of those revenues and expenditures in Fund 43. When we report up to DESE, those are collapsed together and reported up into one fund, the Capital Projects Fund, but we track them separately. So Fund 43 is used to comprise and track all of the capital outlay related to our bond expenditures. So it's taking all of those proceeds from the sales of our bonds and using those for expenditures as determined by the ballot language when voters go to vote on the bond. So source of funds for the bond fund include the fund balance carryover from the prior year. So when you go out to sell the bonds, you receive all of that revenue in one fiscal year. So what you don't use in one year becomes fund balance and moves to the next year to support future years' expenditures. So that fund balance is very important in this fund as it carries over from the prior years. Bond sale proceeds, so again, in the current year, we actually sold the remaining $30 million from our 2023, so we did have some bond sale proceeds in the current year. And then interest income. And again, these funds have one use, and they are for the expenses as outlined in the ballot language. So as far as bond financial reporting and transparency goes, we provide this in a variety of ways. Monthly, we have our bond financial reports within the treasurer's reports. That's provided monthly. And as necessary, and almost always monthly at every meeting, we have change orders, bids, and agreements that come forward as a part of the bond projects. And then quarterly, we have a bond project update. Provided here again is another snapshot of a general budget summary for the current year for our bonds, and you can see that revenue budget for this year is 37 million, but next year it drops to 5. That's because we won't sell any more bonds next year, so those revenues will go down. This slide provides a detailed overview of the bond projects from the 2023 bond vote. So we have the project listing and the financial detail behind each one of those projects. And over on the right-hand side, you can see just an overview of the bond projects. So we have the sources of funds or all of the revenue, and then the total actual and projected project costs for all of the bond projects. And then we're tracking that projected excess or shortfall. Luckily, we're in the excess, so that's good. $15.9 million right now of projected excess in those bond funds. So that includes any contingency that might not be used, those sort of things. So bonding capacity. So the Missouri Constitution actually limits a district's borrowing ability to 15% of a district's assessed valuation. So the calculations provided here for you. So they do 15% of the assessed valuation plus any fund balance, the balance that's sitting in our debt service, minus any outstanding principal payments that we owe. And so you can see the calculation here. Our estimated bonding capacity right now, with all of the series that we already have outstanding, we could go out and potentially issue up to $391 million of new debt. So moving on to the Capital Projects Fund, or Fund 40. The purpose of this fund includes all the expenditures for capital projects and capital equipment purchases. And there's a little distinction here that we'll go through. So these two uses are capital projects. That includes any major capital intensive purchases of either land or building renovations or building of buildings. It's kind of large scale, high cost items, right? It's the renovation of bathrooms, the addition to maybe a football field or something like that. So big capital project items that aren't covered with bond funds. And then you have capital equipment purchases. So those things are things that are like, think life cycle replacement items or big ticket items. So one big purchase of equipment that's $5,000 more, or a group of assets that totals $5,000 or more. So think, buses, computers, those kind of things that we have to purchase to maintain our life cycle on some things. So the capital fund, the source of fund here is the fund balance carryover from the prior year, and then there is a transfer from the operating fund that can happen per a DESI calculation. So DESI calculates for us a maximum transfer, a maximum allowable transfer that can happen between our operating fund over to our capital fund to fund those capital needs. The preliminary transfer for our district for this year is $11.8 million. Now, districts can transfer up to that amount, but they don't have to transfer that amount. They can transfer 0, they can transfer 4 million, they can transfer 6 million, or we could transfer up to that 11.8 million. That is the maximum allowed. Currently, in your general budget summary that you've been seeing lately, the amount that we have estimated is 10 million for this year for us. Other revenue distributions can be placed within the capital fund, and our district chooses to place a portion of our merchants and manufacturers tax into our capital fund to support the capital needs as well. And again, the use of those funds in the capital fund are those big furniture, fixtures, equipment items, purchase of land, buildings, or major repairs or renovations, and then lease purchases if a district has any, and we currently do not have any lease purchases. So I'll just state it again, the capital fund, Fund 40, cannot be used and cannot be transferred back to the operating fund to pay for salary and benefits or everyday purchase services and supplies. Once it's in the capital fund, it has to be used for capital items. This is our, I think you guys have seen this about 17 million different times, but this is our preliminary capital budget for next year. It's estimated at $35.7 million right now, and I have it broken down into these 3 categories. So that first category is that capital planning, those kind of capital big ticket items to kind of keep our buildings up to speed for HVAC, our parking lots, our playgrounds, just those maintenance items that are costly. That middle column are more of our equipment purchases, so that furniture, equipment for custodial or technology, the purchases of buses, bus engines, cafeteria tables, those kind of things. So those two items combined equal over $13 million. The biggest portion of our capital budget next year is going towards some one-time expenditures that include the renovation of Harrison Stadium and then some HVAC projects at Kickapoo and some elementary schools that will be done in phases. So talking about that capital planning process, that process kicks off every year in about September. It's one of the longest processes that we go through, and it is a combination of academic and operational leaders who assess the capital needs at buildings and at the district level. So those needs are prioritized, and then we also use that capital forecast software to determine life cycle replacements to make sure that we don't have one major expense hitting in one year, not having to go out and buy 100 buses in one year. We stack those out and keep a life cycle replacement going on those type of items. Any budgets that are not spent in the current year for current year capital projects are rolled forward into the next year to make sure that those capital projects are completed in the following year. So moving on to the Health Benefit Trust Fund, or Fund 72. The purpose of this fund is to account for all the revenues and the expenditures to support the self-insured Health Benefit Trust Fund. So the sources of revenue for the trust include employer-paid insurance premiums and employee deductions for dependents, coverage for retiree premiums and COBRA premiums, and then any interest income. And then the funds are used for the health claims and the fees for administering the program. Our current providers in this work include Anthem, who is our medical network provider, and that Anthem network allows employees to access the Cox and the Mercy networks. Our current partners also include Point C, which was formerly known as MedPay. They rebranded as Point C. They're our third-party administrator for medical claims processing. Capital RX is our pharmacy benefit manager. And then Locked In Companies is our benefit broker who supports this entire self-insured process. And then each year, to sustain the health of the self-funded trust, we look at the plan design, we look at the employee contributions to make sure that the plan is healthy and running at a level that's sustainable, and any plan design changes or premium changes come before the board usually in October. So we're assessing that right now, and that information would be coming in October. Any rate contribution changes don't happen until January. That's our standard benefit plan change time. So. All right, and then the Health Benefit Trust Fund, I think this is incredible, and I don't think we highlight it enough. But for 2026, and this has been this way for a long time, 100% of the employee insurance is paid for by the district for both the base plan and our health savings account high deductible health plan. So that equates to $7,200 annually that does not come out of the employee's pocket, that is paid for by the district, which is incredible. It also goes towards retirement contributions as well. The current medical premiums each month is $600 per qualifying employee, and we provided the current census data here. So our Health Benefit Trust Fund supports 5,466 lives, and that includes dependents. So this is the final slide. So that wraps up kind of that deep dive into those 4 funds, and this is the presentation schedule for the remainder of our time before we have that final budget recommendation in June. Any questions?
Are there any comments or questions from the board for Ms. Stasel? Dr. Mahad-Makani?
Thank you, Kara. 2 questions. And I don't know why I haven't asked this before. So once you move the money over to the capital fund, or once you fund it from our M&M, whatever tax, what entity, so the money that's there has to be used, it's prescribed in these ways. I'm trying to figure out why we even move it over. Can you not spend general revenue funds for all the capital items, or is there a limit? you're not allowed to
So-
like change HVAC on your general fund.
Yeah, so any item that is one of those big ticket items has to be coded to a Fund 40 account.
Okay,
So in
that's
the
why.
accounting manual, it prescribes for us exactly the accounting codes to use and the fund that it has to come out of, and Fund 40 is that fund. So we can't just pay for a building out of Fund 10. So we have to move it over and
Well,
fund
for
it.
like a bus or
Correct.
for computers or, so districts have to have a crystal ball.
Yeah, they have to have a plan, yes.
Yeah, but sometimes things don't go according to
Correct.
plan. Okay,
Yep.
the other question I had has to do with the debt service fund. So we have a certain amount, okay, this is really hard to see. So almost 35 million, which is 5 more than last year, or projected for 26, 27 will be 5 million more than this year. Do we keep that reserve fund? You know, normally we have a reserve fund in our general fund, in our state mandates a certain level, or strategic plan mandates a certain level. I'm trying to figure out what guides this amount, like what do we use as a goalpost? And I assume we have this in case something were to happen, some catastrophe, and we don't have the revenues coming in, but we still have to make our payments, our loan payments. So this is our emergency money. Is there, I don't know why I haven't asked this before, is there a reason it's this amount?
On the debt service fund, is
On the
there a
debt service,
reason
like, is
that-
there, yeah,
sorry.
is there like a law, is it? I
Can you
don't remem-
slideshow that again, Tammy? Can you put it into slideshow mode?
It's,
Yeah, that slide.
do you see what I'm asking?
Yeah. So that, you're talking about the estimated ending fund balance, is that
Yeah,
correct?
or the beginning fund balance,
Yeah,
however way
either
you want to look
right.
at it.
So I'm not aware of a necessary threshold like we set in board policy for our operating fund. However, there is a reason to have that fund balance there. So should we have a balloon payment coming up on our debt service schedule, that fund balance would take care of that. So
It's a balloon payment.
a big principal payment. So
Oh.
the way you structure, and I'm not the one who structures that repayment schedule, but when we go out and we sell the bonds, our bond counsel and those folks structure those payments, and they look at our assessed valuation and our debt levy, and they structure them as such, like any other loan, where maybe some years you're only paying on the interest and you're not paying much principal, but then you have a big principal payment coming.
Oh, so it's not always the same. You'll have a
Correct.
big,
Yeah.
and so this is getting ready for that?
Yeah, so I would encourage anyone who's really interested, that debt service schedule shows by series, by year, by principal and interest payment. That's always posted in our budget document. So you can go back to last June and pull up that schedule, and it shows all of those details. So you can see by year. Now, down at the bottom, we're pretty flat, right? Like next year's 40 million, the next year jumps to 49 million. So there's probably a couple of principal payments that are jumping up in that year.
So I see where this is. So we have our financial helpers
Yes.
who come up with a schedule.
Yes.
And that schedule guides
Yes.
the balances.
Yep.
Okay,
So
got
on
it.
the next slide.
I see
which
that you
guess
have
I
a list of what's due when.
So we say the
Yes.
amortization schedule, that's a fancy word for just the repayment schedule. So when we go out and do all of this bond sale and we get our final bond transcript, that repayment schedule is given to the district to say, in FY '27, you're going to pay this, in '28, and over the next 20 years, this is what it looks like. We put all that together and work with bond counsel to make sure that 73 cents is covering all that. They actually do that way before we take that to a vote to make sure we don't need to raise that 73 cents. So that's kind of what determines whether it's a tax increase or a no tax increase, and we've been able to do a no tax increase because our assessed valuation's been going up. That 73 cents has been able to support us through that without having to raise that.
But everything's based on the bond schedule.
Correct.
Got it.
In summary, you're.
I'm just, because it's like 5 million more next year, and then some years it's lower, some
Yeah,
years it's
it'll
higher.
make sense once you take a look at that bond schedule that's posted. Yep.
It's just getting ready to be able to make the payments.
Correct.
Thank you.
Yep.
Other comments? Dr. Thomas Tate?
I'm noticing that in the, what slide is this, 10, from the bond project list, that we paid for the demographic study out of the bond fund 43. Is this because it helps to guide us in the decision about how we do our buildings? Is that why?
Yes. So like, the demographic study will be paid out of bond funds, and then our copiers are paid out of operating funds, right? So two distinct funds with two distinct purposes.
But the copiers, it's a big amount of money.
Capital Fund 40.
Comes out of capital,
40,
not
43.
general.
Not
She just said general, that's what I.
Equipment, but we are leasing these, we aren't buying them.
Oh, it's a lease.
Other questions,
No, but maybe not next week.
comments? I have a couple of questions, please.
Yeah.
Is there a time limit on spending the capital funds that are transferred? Okay.
No. There's a time limit on bond funds to be
Got it.
spent down, but not capital.
Got it. Then the other thing that I think, I don't know how many people know this, and I had to be reminded, although surely I knew it somewhere in the past, but that our benefits package, which is, I consider very good in terms of $7,200 per employee for every employee, that, is it correct that that $7,200 is considered part of an employee's salary that also goes into how the retirement benefits are
Yes.
figured? That's huge.
So that 7,200 is added on to your salary, and that is what your retirement is calculated on.
That is huge.
That is huge. So it's $7,200 that is just
We
given to
pay.
you.
The public pays.
Correct.
For it. The school district pays. That's something. Okay.
That's $7,200 worth of something. So,
Yeah, indeed. But think of the long-term advantage. I mean, it's not even just what you get in the year for your
Right.
medical. It goes toward what you're going to get monthly for those of us that have reached that threshold at retirement. It contributes into that because that's based on our salaries.
Yep.
Wow. Okay. Thank you, Ms. Stasel,
Thank you.
as always.
Can I add something?
You may.
And, 20 years ago, that may have been commonplace, but it is increasingly rare to find this model. In fact, I know of no other employer, and especially in today's insurance and health market.
Which is interesting you say that, because one of, I think, in our strategic plan, it talks about our overall compensation. And so when people look at our salary schedule off the cuff and compare another salary schedule, it doesn't always show the entire picture, right? You have to look at the total compensation package, because another district may make you kick in $100 a month for your health, and we don't if you have the base or the HSA plan. So you have to kind of consider that overall compensation package when you're looking at the employer as well.
Right. And I know that we want this to go on forever and ever and ever, but every year we take a deep breath, and we
We
take
do.
it year by year.
Do we provide total reward statements to our employees that show that? Some employers do that, right? Where you see at the end of the year your salary, but then also those other rewards that are kind of on top.
We don't show it in that way, but it is part of it's on on the PSRS retirement system, that report. It shows what their salary and then their benefit is that's calculated.
At the end of the year, an employer mails that out to say, these were your benefits, and so we don't do
Right.
it like that. This might be something that we need.
Here's
to-
how much the company has invested
Exactly.
in your health, here's how much you
Right.
paid, here, for me, right, it's my employee discount, like,
Right.
the things that are
great
extra
idea.
benefits on top of my salary.
That's a great idea.
So thank you all.
Thank you.
Next is item 5.01, preliminary contracts, agreements, change orders, and bids. These items are being brought forward for review and to ask questions. Then we will vote on these items at the April 28th, 2026 regular meeting. Item 6.0, new business items. 6.01, Greene County Hazard Mitigation Resolution.
Good evening, Board. The Greene County Office of Emergency Management is requesting that all public entities listed as part of their hazard mitigation plan approve a resolution that adopts the newest update of their plan. The original plan was adopted in 2020. The district has its own hazard mitigation plan that's referenced in this resolution and presented in front of you. The adoption of this resolution by the district demonstrates its commitment to the goals and objectives outlined in the plan. We have had the resolution and the mitigation plan vetted by legal counsel as their approval to bring forward to you. And so at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Chief Farrell, and he's going to summarize the importance of the Greene County's plan and how that relates to SPS.
Good evening. So I coordinated and I worked with Greene County Office of Emergency Management. We do that on a regular basis regardless because they oversee the district's entire emergency plan. But we said we want to let the board know the big whys for why would we do this. And this is what we came up with. Having a plan supports a faster recovery during and after a disaster. Just having the plan is that important. It enhances our coordination and preparedness. So we're able to move and work with one another with more ease during an event. It aids in building community awareness and resilience. We as a district do that consistently already, but it aids the entire Greene County community in doing that. Ms. Stossel will like this because besides meeting regulatory requirements, it helps meet funding requirements should we have some type of catastrophic incident. It helps keep schools open and usable because we're pre-planning, right? That's what our safe rooms are all about, or a big portion of what we plan to use them for. It strengthens the school district's role in the community. It sends a really big message that, hey, we're a part of it. This is our community, and we're just a cog in the wheel. And then finally, it shows proactive leadership. By doing so, it shows the district is preparing and not simply responding to an incident.
So due to OEM's timing, we are asking that the board take action on this item this evening. So before you do that, are there any questions that Chief Farrell or I can answer for you this time?
Questions?
Dr. Shaw, would you let the board know we're updating the mission and vision? We will get that
Yes,
taken care of.
we were. I was notified that the vision and mission statement that's in there was not up to date from OEM, so we'll make sure that they get that adjusted and changed in the plan to reflect our current mission and vision.
Dr. Thomas Tate?
When I was looking through this mitigation plan, I was noting for Springfield that our mitigation plan, including construction of the new Pershing Middle School, the new Pipkin Middle School, and the new Reed Middle School. And each of them, they talk about the purpose, including tornadoes, severe wind, and only targeted violence for Pipkin and Reed, but not for Pershing. Is there a reason that targeted violence was left off of Pershing?
No, ma'am, not that I'm aware of. I can find out, though.
Other board member Provance?
Do we need to add Bingham?
Not at this time. It will be when it's updated. Yes, ma'am.
Other comments? Well, I thought, I have a particular interest in these kinds of things, so I thought, well, I'll just print this up and take a look. But I didn't, because there are 755 pages to this document, so I saved a few trees and a little bit of ink, so thank you.
Add a couple things, may I?
Of course.
So it's updated every 5 years?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that, because that's what it looks like. It made for some fascinating reading, right?
Print it?
Huh?
Did you print off?
Print it?
I didn't, I printed
Selection.
selections. Anywhere that it said Springfield, you could do a search. And so I printed everything that had Springfield Public Schools, and which is why, you know, we noted that the mission vision and all that jazz. But it's interesting reading if anybody's interested, because, you know, when I looked at the risk assessment, like you noted, I had to go back and realize, well, what is risk? It's more than just tornadoes and, you know, what we think of, a flooding, but it has technological hazards, human-caused hazards, such as, you know, like targeted violence, and really interesting stuff. I also learned that Springfield Public Schools, we know we're the largest district, but we cover 137 square miles. I would not have known that had I not read. Did you know that? Yep, interesting. The other thing that was notable to me is that we have 8 districts in Greene County, and what a conundrum that only 3 of the districts, us, Ash Grove, and Logan Rogersville, opted to participate and be part of this agreement with the Office of Emergency Management. And I was lucky because I got to listen to the Office of Emergency Management give a presentation last month, and I didn't realize how sophisticated and organized they were, and how we are the bedrock of the 7th Congressional District, right? So Greene County is the model. We send our, what's the name of the vehicle that goes out that?
Rapid response, maybe?
No, that has the capability to link into the satellite for the entire 7th district. So even though every county has it, we're the county that leads. So if there was an emergency in Joplin, we're the ones that have to go and to really carry the load. Okay, I say all that with the caveat, if somebody does take the time to read it, I want to make sure that, and I clarified this with Dr. Lathan, that what was really important to me to read is that, yes, we're entering into this agreement because we do like being prepared. We really, are grateful for this partnership, but that we still hold, and this is in the document stated explicitly, full legislative authority and control over the district as it is outlined by the law. So we do not give anything up as a governing body for decisions that pertain to the district and our schools. So I think that's an important point to be made. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? All right. Thank you, Dr. Shaw. Our recommended action is that the board adopt the 2025 update of the Greene County Multi-Hazard Mitigation Plan of the plan originally adopted on August 27th, 2020. Do I have a motion?
So moved. I'll second.
Board Member Huff moved. Board Member Kincaid second. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? 7 affirmative. Now, Chief Farrell will join us at the podium again for this item, the Blue Shield Resolution, item 6.02.
So adopting this resolution allows Springfield School Police to apply for grants through the Department of Public Safety. Safety is obviously a part of our strategic plan, and this resolution demonstrates a commitment to that priority. So Chief Farrell is going to talk a little bit about what it means to adopt this resolution and then also the requirements of our department moving forward.
Thank you, Dr. Shaw. So the Missouri Blue Shield program is a designation for local governments that demonstrates an exceptional commitment to public safety and law enforcement support. So again, I'm the guy that goes to the whys. That's just me, and that's how I think. So for me, the biggest why and why we want to be a part of this is that the Blue Shield program gives us another level of independent accountability to the school police department. We will agree that we will do certain things, and I'll share those, and that we have to show that we're doing those certain things to the state in order to receive the grant and to be in compliance with the grant. In addition to that, it's not, if we should be designated with the Blue Shield agency designation, it's not a forever deal. It's an annual deal, so that if there's funding for it again next year, and we were chosen this year, you'll probably see me up here again, asking again. The big pluses are that it gives us significant grant funding ability. We can request grants through this program, through Missouri Department of Public Safety. It will help us in recruiting. I know that may seem odd, but what it shows to any potential candidate is that you, the school board, the leaders of the district, stand behind and support the school police department, and strengthens our community partnerships. This program is built on the philosophy that public safety is a shared responsibility. And if anybody's heard me, I have 2 mantras, right? One is safety is not convenient, and the other is school safety is everyone's responsibility. It's not just the responsibility of your school police. And then lastly, It gives you, it supports and really pushes a big interagency collaboration. And I would just remind the board that if you've been around, and I believe Dr. Tate was when this happened, we have MOUs with other agencies. By their very definition is interagency collaboration. We're required by statute to collaborate with other agencies. In addition, we collaborate with the Southwest Missouri Cybercrimes Task Force that particularly targets predators of children online. So we will always help with that when they ask. And that would be the big plus, the big benefits. Obviously, I think Ms. Stossel will be thrilled if we can get some grant money. But, you know, that is the benefits. And it is that accountability that I think is very important for us.
So again, due to the timing of the grant needed, we are asking the board act on this resolution this evening. Questions for Chief Farrell or myself?
I have a question.
Dr. Thomas Tate?
You answered part of it already, which was about whether or not this grant was renewable, and it sounds like it's renewable annually.
As long as there's funding, yes,
As long
ma'am.
as there's funding. And the section 2 talks about the strategic crime reduction efforts. These are the things that shall be done. Is there going to be a cost above what is offered in the grant for these particular initiatives to be implemented?
Additional cost? It wouldn't be anything. I would tell you that we are already meeting about 98% of the requirements without having any additional cost.
Thank you.
Vice President Huff?
That was going to be my question. So we're doing most of these things that are already in the resolution. Is there anything that stands out to you that we're not currently doing? Any new programs or measurement things we would need to implement? It's just kind of saying, yes, we as a board are voting to affirm that we support
We are already
this.
doing the overwhelming majority of it. I would tell you that off the top of my head, within the ability of what we can do based on our jurisdiction and our roles, we are already there.
Other questions, comments? Sure, Board Member Mahatma.
So by adopting the resolution, applying for the grant, if the money is allocated within the general budget, this is a state, right, not federal, it's a state
Yes, ma'am.
entity, is it guaranteed that we will receive the grant, or is there still, you know, a selection process?
My understanding is if you receive a Blue Shield designation, you will get a portion of the grant. Now,
Okay.
the portion last year was pretty large because it was new, and not a lot of agencies knew about it. And I think you're seeing more agencies receive that designation this year. So it probably won't be as much as last year, but it still would be pretty significant, yes.
When you say last year, did we apply last year?
No, ma'am, it was so new that it was almost under the radar for me.
So when you say the portion was large, it was for the districts or the entities that did apply?
The entities, yes.
The entities that applied received it? The police agencies? Oh, so this is not limited to schools, this is to any
It's law
police
enforcement.
agency, law enforcement agency. So the people that applied received the grant, and now the pie is going to be cut into more pieces. Okay, and then how do you receive the Blue Shield designation? Is it just adopting the resolution and then following through with all the steps? Is there another thing we have to do?
Not you, me.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, is there like
I
a
will have quite a
target?
bit to do that.
Okay.
If you choose to vote yes.
Right, so I assume there's, to apply for the grant, you know, there's a checklist, there's an application, but that's it. You do all the work, you fill out the application, you submit it. There's no more additional things?
Correct.
Okay, got it. And is this for next year, for 27? Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, comments? I have a couple. Your statement about school safety is everyone's responsibility really resonates. And that's true now more so than ever. But I do believe that our students and our faculty and our general public do understand the joint effort that it takes. And I will say that so much happens behind the scenes, and tragedies get averted, and we never know when a tragedy was averted. We only know when it wasn't. but a lot of hard work goes into what you do. And I think it's good to note, too, that, and not every school district operates this way, but we're very fortunate in Springfield Public Schools to have our own police agency, which allows you to apply for something like this. A lot of school districts across the state are contracting with sheriff's departments, and they're actually sheriff employees on loan to the school district to do whatever. But we're very fortunate to have our own police force right here, and I think that that contributes a great deal to our overall efficiency and statement, and I'll say thank you to the leader.
Thank you.
Our recommended action is that the board approve a resolution demonstrating the school district of Springfield R12's commitment to public safety and crime reduction. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Board Member Mahatma Makhani moved. Second. Board Member Thomas Tate, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Chair votes aye. 7 affirmative. Now we go to item 7.01, bond project updates and actions, change orders and agreements.
Good evening, Board. Before you this evening is change order agreements, and I'll point out the first 2 items as change orders with additional cameras going to Shady Dale for safety and security. And then also at Truman Elementary, we're having to increase some labor costs because some of the work's going to have to be done after hours, so the vendor is going to have to work after hours, so some additional costs there. The next multiple line items is we're gearing up for the Bingham, Bissett, and Pershing projects, so multiple line items for testing and balancing and A&E for material testing. So that's in preparation for getting ready for the construction of those projects. Also, agreement is for asbestos abatement at Pershing for $323,445. As you're aware, the old building will be coming down after we build a new building, and we have a tremendous amount of asbestos in that building that we will have to remove from the building. So another agreement there for that. Next line item, change order for Reed Middle School. If you recall, we saved a lot of the salvage lumber out of the auditorium. We have some additional, so we'll be placing some additional of that material in some showcases, some display cases, and then also making some changes with omitting the old airphone system that was in place whenever we bid that project. But we have switched over and we're tying everything into audio acoustics, so a change there, and then additional fire extinguishers as required for the project. Altogether, with all the agreements and change orders, we come to $740,964.30. So, have any questions?
Questions? Board Member Huff?
Just a quick and easy one. Can you explain testing and balancing to me? Sounds like it has some sort of HVAC.
So testing and balancing, the majority of it is for HVAC to make sure that we have proper displacement of air throughout the building. It also goes into restrooms, exhaust fans. We don't want to pull too much air out. So it's balancing the entire building, and it takes a service for us to be able to do that.
Other comments? Our recommended action item is that the board approve the change orders and agreements as presented. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Dr. Mahatma Makhani made the motion. Board Member Huff seconded. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Passes with 7. Woo-hoo! Now we're down to the superintendent's update. Dr. Lathan, do you have any updates for us?
Yes, good evening. Our Fly SPS, tomorrow evening, we will celebrate our second group of Fly SPS graduates. 8 members of the class of 2026 will graduate with their private pilot's license. They have spent the past 2 years working toward this goal, and we're so excited for them to realize their dream. I'd like to thank our partners, Ozarks Technical College, Premier Flight Center, and Springfield Branson National Airport for their part in making this program possible. The students include 2 students from Hillcrest, 3 from Kickapoo, 1 each from Central, Parkview, and Glendale. Congratulations to the students and their families. SPS Hall of Fame. Nominations are currently being accepted for the 2026 SPS Hall of Fame. We're seeking outstanding SPS graduates to honor in October. If you know someone who graduated from SPS at least 10 years ago and has made a significant impact on their community or in their profession, please nominate them by April 30th. Find out more information at sps.org/Hall of Fame. Legislative update. I'd like to thank Springfield NEA and MSTA for partnering with us to host the legislative session on last Thursday. It was great to collaborate with Shannon Benning and Jeffrey Pettibone on this successful event. About 150 people attended to hear information from Representatives Betsy Fogle, Stephanie Hine, and Melanie Stinnett. We appreciate those elected officials for making time to participate and to respond to questions, and all members of Team SPS and the community for attending. Bingham Community Open House. Board members, it is on your calendar. This summer, construction will begin on New Bingham, the building for Bingham Elementary School, on Monday, April 27th. The community is invited to tour the building one last time. It's a floating time from 5:30 to 7. Current and former students and community members are welcome to visit. Once again, you can stop by between 5:30 and 7 p.m. for the Bingham Community School Open House.
And the date was?
Monday, April 27th.
Thank you.
And I've placed it on your calendars.
Thank you.
That concludes my comments, board members.
Thank you, Dr. Lathan.
Was that to check out Bingham before?
Before we tear it down like we did.
At Reed.
Yes.
It's a trip down memory lane, indeed. Other board member comments? Board member Kincaid?
Yep.
Yep,
I'll
please.
start. I just want to echo Dr. Lathan. Thank you to SNEA and MSTA for the collaboration within the legislative briefing. I think it's great that we can all advocate together for our primary purpose, which is our SPS students. So thank you for that. And thank you for Representative Hogle, Stinnett, and Hine for your time. I think it's telling how many people attended that. 150 community members attended. Was that Thursday evening? Thursday evening. And the conversations were great. So I just really appreciate those representatives. And I also, as a board member, want to welcome and encourage all of our representatives in Jefferson City to take these opportunities to come into our schools here at SPS. There's multiple opportunities in which to do that. Not only do we have legislative briefings that we invite you to attend so that you can connect with your constituents, but there is also Principal for a Day and tours. We often host tours with our legislators. Please come see the incredible things that are going on within our schools, especially as decisions are being made about our funding and diverting some of the funds to for-profit schools who can handpick the students that they want in their classrooms. Take the time and please take the opportunity to see these amazing things happening in our classrooms. And these classrooms do reflect the children in our community, regardless of their ability or socioeconomic status. So please, for the fifth time, please, our representatives in Jefferson City, we welcome you to come and see what's going on at SPS because it's amazing. And mark your calendars, September 18th is the next Principal for a Day. So get it on your calendars now, take the half day, and come to see our schools. That's all.
Thank you. Other comments?
I have comments.
Dr. Thomas Tate?
I don't want to beat a dead drum, but I want to say that I was really appreciative of the legislative forum that was held by SNEA and MTSA. It was a great event. I appreciate the leadership. They were really thoughtful questions. And this is not something that I've seen since the time I've been on this board. So thank you and kudos to you. I also just want to point out the number of teachers who were present and how they demonstrate the importance of this process and had some really good ideas and questions that were shared there also from the teachers. And so thank you to the teachers who showed up because that shows to me that you really care, and I appreciate that. I also just wanted to make a statement about our election today. I want to start by congratulating our newly selected board officers. I appreciate the willingness to serve in these roles and the responsibility that comes with it. I also want to take a moment to reflect on our process, not the outcome, but the process itself. I do believe that we have an opportunity moving forward to be more intentional about how we identify and develop leadership within this board. Strong governance bodies do not rely on the same individuals to lead over time. They build leadership capacity across all members. That means ensuring that every board member has both access and preparation for leadership roles, not just a select few. At present, I don't believe we have clearly defined, transparent process that supports that goal. Without that, leadership selection can unintentionally become limited in scope, and even when that's not our intent. So, to be candid, I do feel like we had a missed opportunity here, not just for me personally, but for us as a board to more fully leverage the experience, perspectives, and growth potential of all of its members. My intent here is not to name things and to revisit, naming things is not to revisit today's decision, but to advocate for a stronger process moving forward, one that is transparent, inclusive, intentional about leadership development, and aligned with best practices in board governance. I remain committed to this board, to this district, and to doing the work regardless of the title, and I'm equally committed to ensuring that we are building governance structures that reflect shared leadership and long-term stability. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments? Board Member Provance?
I'd also like to comment on how wonderful the legislative thing was out at Glendale. I saw Shannon and Jeffrey before the meeting and thank them for the questions that they submitted for the candidates to speak on. And then I want to kind of mention something that you had said about school safety is everyone has to buy in and help. And I did see members of the community. I saw lots and lots of different teachers. I saw parents. The group out at Glendale was wonderful, and I do worry about the funding. I thought of this when I looked back on my days of teaching, and you teach a child on problem solving. Is the first thing is that you really you need to observe. You need to identify the problem. You need to see all the problems that compound the issue, and then you look at the upside and the downside. I'm sorry, I cannot see the upside to underfunding education. You know, when someone is comfortable by saying that the schools are the heart of the community, and then you realize that those children will be our future leaders. Dr. Lathan, you mentioned how we were going to have this class graduating from Fly SPS, and you realize how talented our graduating seniors are. Yeah, I was kind of excited to hear the 4 astronauts were all recipients of a public education. We need public schools. I listened closely to the oath that you and Sarah took, and that we must uphold the Missouri Constitution. So help you God. That was, I just cannot understand how we can underfund education, and it's going to take us all. We need to contact our state senators, our state House of Representatives, our governor, anyone who's going to listen. We cannot fail education because we should not fail our future.
Other comments? Board Member Huff?
You know, I think, I wish I could echo my sentiments for MSTA and NEA for coordinating the event. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend, but I love to talk about supporting public education. And I think one of the ways that we can continue to advocate for that at the statewide level is to continue to demonstrate growth and excellence. And so as a parent, I've been getting my texts about end of course exams and MAP testing and end of year testing. And so I know everybody's very busy. It's a sparse crowd tonight. It's because I think if you've ever driven by the Y on Republic Road, everybody's out tonight doing a soccer game or flag football or some kind of extracurricular activity. But I would just really encourage our parents to make that a priority for your kids and encourage them to do their best, because it really is the time for us to showcase what our kids have learned throughout the year. And so we're going to have some high-protein breakfast in my house next week. We're going to have early bedtimes. The kids are going to love it. But I think it's important that we just take a minute to remind ourselves that that's coming up, and that is a great way for us to continue to show our legislators that our students are doing good things. We are showing growth. It doesn't all hinge on a test, but that's a metric we've been given right now. So let's take that seriously in the next week or so. Beyond, it's more than a week.
Other comments? Board Member Smart?
Well, I just want to say that serving on this board for the past year, it's Sarah's and my one-year anniversary. It's been an honor and a privilege, and I'm truly grateful for the opportunity to support our students and educators and community in such a meaningful way. And one of the most rewarding parts of this experience has been getting to know and work alongside these dedicated and passionate fellow board members. Their commitment and collaboration has made my journey incredibly fulfilling, and I look forward to continuing this work together. So thank you all.
Other comments? Well, I think Board Member Huff, your comment about getting kids ready for testing is great, and I'll add to that. Let's just officially declare tonight that the next few weeks is Be Kind to Teacher Week, because they are too under incredible stress, and they better be getting to bed early and eating some high-protein breakfast as well. I did have the opportunity last week to attend the District Wellness Committee meeting, and first of all, it was very lively. It was a great group of people. I learned a lot, but one of the things that I did learn, and this was new to me, was what our employees can obtain from MD Live. And in fact, Dr. Hackenworth made a testimonial at the meeting about that and how easy it is to avoid a trip to an urgent care facility or the emergency room, and how efficient that MD Live opportunity is. So I'm very grateful we've been able to offer that. And I'm sure the employees take advantage of it. I don't know if we keep stats on that, but that would be interesting to know. Our Foundation for Springfield Public Schools has their final Lunch and Learn this year, April 28th, and I believe, Dr. Shaw, are you on the agenda? Yes, it's at the Chamber of Commerce building from, I think, 12 to 1 on April 28th. Ms. Stasel, thank you so much, wherever you are back there, for all of your updates. You worked tirelessly behind the scenes, and I think you got a lot of kudos at the last board meeting, but I wasn't here to echo it and say amen, so thank you. I agree the questions that were provided by MSTA and SNEA to our legislators were right on target. They were exactly what needed to be asked. They were well written, they were well done, and I think for the most part well answered. So, you know, kudos to everybody that put that together. And then finally, I won't cry over this because some things are very sentimental to me, but I had the Central High School Kilties are celebrating their 100th year, if you can imagine. And so they've had a lot of celebration, proclamations, what have you. And Sunday afternoon, the rain held back, and they performed down on our square, and it was absolutely phenomenal. And I have a lot of video on my phone if anyone would like to see it. But it was those, you know, Coach Provance and I come from an era where if you were a female and had athletic talent or interest, you had two options in Springfield Public Schools, because we were out at Glendale. You could be in the drum corps, the Scotties, or you could be a cheerleader. And if you couldn't do either of those things. I tried out every year, never made it. Provance, however, was a Scotty. But those were all the opportunities we had. So to see a group like the Lassies, the Kilties, they carry on, and what a wonderful tradition. And then under the direction of Sunday Wildshoots, who's the sponsor of the Kilties, they hosted a wonderful reception for alums. The Central Commons was full to capacity in terms of ladies and gentlemen coming back to talk to the girls, to look at all the old scrapbooks. I even saw a former sister-in-law in one of those scrapbooks, which was kind of funny. But at any rate, it really is heartwarming to see those kinds of traditions and pride be carried on throughout the years. So, and if you ever want to get your blood pumping, just go to a high school gymnasium when the drum corps comes in, and I'll tell you what, you can't help but just get the beat. So, thank you to everyone that helped with that Kilty celebration. It was wonderful. Okay, anything else?
Judy, can I quickly add, since you were in here, when we go to a small budget meeting, it's not that we have a plan, it's that we have a CARA.
Yeah, that's,
We have a
indeed, indeed, indeed. Okay, well, our next regular meeting is scheduled for April 28th, 2026. So, item 10.01, our recommended action is the board adjourn the meeting at 6:58. Do I have a motion? Okay, Board Member Kincaid made the motion, and Board Member Thomas Tate gave the second. All in favor? Opposed? 7 affirmative. Thank you so much.